and constitution, Mr. Speaker. If you read the judgment of the Supreme Court now, Mr. Speaker, and I read that judgment last night, it gave me a lot of hope. And I said I must bring to the attention of members that now the country is going to the right. You know, when I saw a black man, I just knew things have changed. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to bring to the attention of the House a matter that is very important. Mr. Speaker, as you are aware, the issue of our main business here is legislation. And one of the biggest predicaments that we have faced on issues of legislation, Mr. Speaker, is the issue of public participation. Public participation. So, Mr. Speaker, I want the House to take note of the ruling of the Supreme Court that happened the other day, Mr. Speaker, on the finance bill that was suspended by the court, Mr. Speaker. And the bench at the Supreme Court did a very thorough work, Mr. Speaker. And I want to congratulate them because they have laid basis and foundation now for a proper public participation, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to urge members to read that judgment, Mr. Speaker, because that judgment has really helped this country. It has cleared the path for this country now and for Parliament to do proper legislation, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for the last 10 years or so, since the new constitution was enacted, Mr. Speaker, Parliament could not do this business, Mr. Speaker. Any legislation we do here, any act that is assented to by the President, Mr. Speaker, somebody goes to High Court and the High Court declares that act unconstitutional, Mr. Speaker, when in the actual sense, an act could have 73 or even 80 clauses, Mr. Speaker. And instead of a judge declaring the 10 or 15 clauses that someone has a problem with, many times judges have declared acts of Parliament unconstitutional, Mr. Speaker. If you read the judgment of the Supreme Court now, Mr. Speaker, and I read that judgment last night, it gave me a lot of hope. And I said I must bring to the attention of members that now the country is going to the right direction in terms of legislation. The Supreme Court said, one of the best things the Supreme Court said is that Parliament doesn't have to convince the public on what they are doing or the legislation. They just need to inform them. Information, Mr. Speaker. You don't have to convince because we are here to legislate on behalf of Kenyans. We are exercising sovereign power that is delegated to us, Mr. Speaker. So the Supreme Court, in their own wisdom, said that you just need to inform the public. You don't need they don't have to agree with you. Because legislation is not being done in the public, it's being done in the floor of the House. One of the things that has shocked me about public participation, one time, one of the judges declared one of the acts unconstitutional. And he said that the advert that was released to the public was done in English and not Swahili. And himself is doing his judgment in English. He did not do it in Swahili, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, without belaboring the matter, time is ripe now for the public participation bill to come to this floor of the House. The Supreme Court has spoken on it. The Supreme Court has cleared the path. Now we need to get a proper public participation bill on the floor of the House so that we can dispense off with that matter once and for all. Kenyans have suffered. Kenyans have suffered in the sense that any legislation that is made by the representatives is normally declared null and void and unconstitutional by the courts, Mr. Speaker. The courts are legislating through, I don't know how to describe it, through the back door, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, that matter must come to arrest. But I want the majority leader to weigh on this matter. And I also have the issue of femicide, Mr. Speaker. Femicide. Our women are being killed, Mr. Speaker, Kienyeji. Even today, there is one that has been killed and her body parts thrown at his sleeve, Mr. Speaker. At his sleeve. Another one, Atlangata. But her origin is from his sleeve. So, Mr. Speaker, that matter also we need to talk about it, but let the majority leader pronounce himself on the issue of the Supreme Court and public participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me first commend the Leader of Minority, the Honorable Junet Mohammed, for raising this issue on the matter of the judgment, and also